Now, there's no doubt about it that it has become common knowledge now that Kathleen Kennedy was the sole individual that was responsible for the failure of Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, for multiple reasons and factors, mind you. The biggest one of all is how she requested an extra $100 million that got approved by Bob Iger to really kind of overfund this project, and all of that money went to waste, as a lot of the scenes that were shot per that overfunding went to complete waste by deleting those said scenes. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is very much a rejected individual and producer now in the Hollywood sphere, as I like to call it, the Hollywood bubble, etc., etc. And what's really extreme is exactly what's going on with the whole blacklisting situation involving Kathleen Kennedy. We're going to be going over the latest developments surrounding this subject and exactly what's going on with her husband, Frank Marshall, who, by the way, is a very powerful figure in Hollywood, in case you guys did not know about that, and how he's attempting to really fix and course correct the whole issue with no solution in sight. So let's get into this. Now, we know that Bob Iger and the Disney board are really kind of shooting themselves in the foot by keeping Kathleen Kennedy on board so far as the president of Lucasfilm for multiple factors. We're going to be diving into that as well, and how her contract is very much a complicated one specifically. Now, on top of this, with Kathleen Kennedy endlessly facing more problems and issues with Disney after the failure of The Dial of Destiny, and also overfunding The Acolyte as well, that is costing Disney tens of millions of dollars extra with looming reshoots for this November unless the strikes get in the way, there lies a bigger issue with Kennedy in dealing with the Hollywood sphere. As of right now, all major Hollywood studios have blacklisted Kathleen Kennedy after what officially happened to The Dial of Destiny's box office collapse. The latest studios that finalized the blacklisting of Kathy Kennedy from ever getting a chance to work with them in the future now also includes Universal, Skydance, Paramount, and even Columbia Pictures on top of the list. Now, Kennedy's husband, Frank Marshall, is trying to desperately pull some strings with his contacts at these studios to drop the blacklisting of Kathy Kennedy in order to provide her deals after Lucasfilm if and when she either gets fired or voluntarily steps down. However, the board and CEOs of these Hollywood studios are not listening to Frank Marshall, as Kennedy has become a textbook example of how to sink two major franchises like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, along with the Willow series, in under 10 years. Now guys, let me just say one thing about this before I get to the next big piece of this development, is that it's true. Who in the world can you even think about that really destroyed technically 3 franchises for Lucasfilm? Willow in the garbage, Star Wars tarnished, Indiana Jones destroyed. All these major franchises, technically 2 major ones, 1 minor, all of which wrecked by Kathleen Kennedy, specifically for promoting these agendas, not listening to the fans, not looking at the core source material, and pushing all these agendas in the most straightforward way that really did not resonate with fans at all, or even common moviegoers and viewers for streaming. That's why a lot of people turned away from the sequels. That's why a lot of fans turned away from Obi-Wan and Boba Fett and Mando Season 3, the 3 controversial Star Wars TV shows on Disney+. The list goes on and on and on, and it doesn't end there. You know, we know that Kathleen Kennedy also sabotaged, technically, the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel. Main reason? Very expensive. The other reason? It was all focused on sequel trilogy aspects. Nobody wanted to go to that hotel where it's focusing on Rey and Kylo Ren. People want to go to a hotel that is an homage, let's face it, to the original trilogy, to the prequels, and just everything George Lucas. Sure, you can have little slivers of the sequels if you want, but don't make the hotel the strict focus on something so alienated from the franchise and focusing on sequel lore. But I digress. Further, nobody in Hollywood reportedly wants to even be connected to Kathleen Kennedy at this time, as they are all aware of how rejected she is both on social media and in the Hollywood trades. In addition to this is only furthering Kennedy's efforts to expedite her own production studio that is under the code name Starlight Productions, we talked about this last year, which is set to become a competitor against Star Wars, Dune, and even Star Trek. The plan is to bring in ex-Lucasfilm employees and current ones that are under Kathleen Kennedy's loyalists to make Leslye Headland as well the vice president of the company by 2026 now. The biggest controversy about this is Disney holds knowledge about Kennedy's efforts on the studio, and the board is still, to this day, divided on why they have not let her go from Lucasfilm, as many board members support her in her contract and how it's a very complicated one. Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy, by the way, guys, has a golden parachute with her contract. If and when she ever gets fired, she's going to be paid tens of millions of dollars, roughly 30 million to be exact. We know that it's give or take around 28 million specifically as far as, what was reported back in August. But we know that everything related to Kathleen Kennedy now is that this just goes to show you that Hollywood is slowly, and I say very slowly, as slow as a turtle here, waking up. And I think that Universal stepping their game up with the Nintendo movies and the video game movies, and everything ranging from Skydance to Paramount with their Mission Impossible films and even a Top Gun 3 in the talks. There's a lot of great things coming our way, and I think that you're going to slowly begin to realize that there's going to be good films coming out. Oppenheimer was a great example. Barbie was a real manipulated technique that I think a lot of people did not really respect at all, let's face it. I mean, that was really just false marketing, and you go into it and it's like, oh, it turns out it's, an agenda-driven disaster. But it made money, that's all they care about, right? It's surpassed 400 plus million worldwide, it's killing it. So Kathleen Kennedy here is the opposite. She is someone that just drives money out of these studios and stays. We know that her contract is a very complicated one, but what really mind boggles myself is why in the world are Disney board members still convinced that Kathleen Kennedy is a good fit for Lucasfilm as a president if she is already pre-planning her own studio that's going to compete against Star Wars? Why would you want to keep somebody around like that? Doesn't that actually kind of get into legal issues with the contract over at Disney? Of course it does, and I don't know why it's preventing them from firing her for that sole reason. It's interesting to say the least what kind of dirt she may have on some people, quite possibly, who knows. But like I say, guys, I mean, it's interesting that even Frank Marshall is getting rejected with his contacts, trying to pull the strings and to get, Universal and Columbia Pictures to give Kathleen Kennedy a chance in the future, because Kathy did say that she never wants to retire from the film industry. Anyway, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.